In this video, we're going to go over the exam guide for your midterm exam. We will do two parts. One to discuss the terms that you see on the screen, and then there'll be another video with some calculations. Here in this area, you have key terms. Well, first, it'll be with material from chapter 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, and 18. These are the key terms you want to focus on regarding vocabulary, as in definitions, characteristics, and things like that. Some of these are highlighted, and I'll tell you in a moment why. So when it comes to things like money market securities, go to the slides, check the textbook on definitions, so you'll be able to recall the characteristics and definition of these items. I say recall because it's a multiple choice exam. Therefore, hard memorization may not be necessary, but you definitely have to be familiar enough to be able to pick the right answer. By the way, the entire test is multiple choice, so no fill in the blanks. There are some calculations. Now, the highlighted ones, for example, taxed and tax exempt equivalent yield. This is referring to bonds that are tax exempt versus bonds that are not. And one of the exercises in the spreadsheets that I shared, it shows the calculation where you're checking the equivalency, so you can choose, depending on your tax bracket, if you should buy the tax exempt bond or the tax bond. So not only you need to understand what that is for, like I just explained, however, you also need to be able to calculate that. And that's what's going on with these. If they're not highlighted, we're just looking for characteristics and definition type stuff. If they're highlighted, you may need to know what it is. Like short selling, you need to understand, be able to know the characteristics and definition, but there's some calculations about short selling, your potential losses or returns. Same thing with margin requirement, maintenance margin, and margin call. Not only you need to know what those words mean, but be able to calculate your initial margin requirement, be able to calculate the price where the margin call may start. And all these are in the spreadsheets and the exercises you have done throughout this so far these last few weeks. The maintenance margin. Let's talk about this complete portfolio. For this one, you need to understand what the complete portfolio is, which is just a combination of risky assets and free risk rate. A portfolio with risky assets, or what they call the risky portfolio, combined with the risk-free rate security. So definition, formation, that's more about talking about what it is, like I just said, for example. Now, but you need to be able to calculate the returns of that complete portfolio and the standard deviation. Now, I'll tell you now, the complete portfolio standard deviation, it's not the long portfolio standard deviation formula we have seen. The complete portfolio standard deviation is a much shorter formula, and it's a weighted standard deviation with the risky portfolio portion of the complete portfolio. So do not get confused, the complete portfolio standard deviation calculation with your regular portfolio standard deviation calculation, which is a much longer formula. Fisher effect, that has to do with inflation. Check the formula, know what it is, and also know how to calculate with the formula. Geometric average return. These are all more definition stuff. Now let's talk about beta, correlation, and covariance. Those three kind of go together hand in hand to include standard deviation. And the reason I say that is that we had the formula for correlation based on covariance and standard deviation, or you had the formula for beta that uses covariance and variance, etc. The point is that they're all somewhat connected. This will make a little more sense when we go through the practical exercises in the other video. So if you have one or two of these formulas, you will be able to calculate the missing one. And we'll get to that later. But what you're not going to calculate is the long version of correlation or the long version of covariance. It's going to be pretty much the short formula that has correlation and covariance and beta, and you just turn the formula around to just find the missing one you have. Optimal risky portfolio weights. This is on a 2-asset portfolio. This is a longer formula. So on the spreadsheets in a previous, we talk about the optimal portfolio weights calculation. On the spreadsheets that I use, we also called it the maximum Sharpe ratio. So you want to have that formula with you. The rest more just knowing what it is. Now, here, arbitrage, equilibrium, abnormal returns. Now, you want to know what those are, as be able to explain what they are and why we care about them. There is calculations involved, but that's why I have these highlighted down here. Because, for example, for equilibrium, you will use trainer ratio to identify if they're in equilibrium or not. For abnormal returns, you'll use Jensen's alpha to identify if there's any abnormal returns. And that's the idea, that while these require calculations to answer some questions, it will be these calculations you use in order to answer questions: arbitrage, equilibrium, abnormal returns, overprice, underprice, etc. And that's generally speaking how to interpret the words and the terms you see here. We will stop this video here, and on the next video associated with exam, we'll be working on an Excel sheet going over some calculations and numbers.